goal of the channel, I really just kind of wanted to do something that would be enjoyable and something that might grow. And I don't know if either of those things will happen with this. I also wanted to do something where I don't do a lot of talking. I know that's ironic that I'm saying that as I'm doing a lot of talking, but I feel like this will kind of explain exactly what's going on with the channel, what I'm trying to accomplish, and we'll just see what happens. Really, if anything, if it doesn't do anything other than maybe one or two people watch it on occasion, or nobody watches it, it'll be for posterity, and I will have it someday. So the goal of the channel is this. About a year and a half ago now, the town that I grew up in, Sulphur, Oklahoma, was hit by a devastating tornado. It really did a lot of damage to the park here, which is the Chickasaw National Recreation Area. Used to be Platte National Park. At one time, one of the top parks in the United States of America that people would visit. Now, that being said, guy just waved at me and he's not sure if I'm filming him or me. Either way, he thinks I'm crazy. But so what happened, the tornado hit here, and most people that would see this will be aware of this, but if somebody sees it that doesn't, it decimated the downtown, the old downtown, which was thriving downtown at one point when I was a kid, small kid, and had a resurgence of late. Some businesses had moved in and really kind of doing some neat things with the downtown, along with the Chickasaw Nation building the Artesian Hotel there. Well, the tornado just decimated the downtown, decimated a large portion of the park. And it's ironic because exactly a month before the tornado hit, I was walking in the park, kind of reminiscing about my childhood and whatnot. And I thought, because my dad and I used to jog down here a lot, or walk, and we did a lot of things down here. And my mom as well, just our family. And I thought about a month before, as I was walking, everything may change, but the park has pretty much stayed the same. Now, anybody that knows the park, I used to walk the low end of the Buffalo Trail, what's referred to as the Buffalo Trail, and then I would walk out onto the road and circle back to the parking. And that's the same route that my dad and I would jog back in the day. And I thought, well, everything changes. This park has stayed pretty much the same. And if it wasn't a month later, tornado hits and the park is not the same. Never will be the same. And so really, I had this epiphany at the time that, no matter what you think, things change. It's just part of life. And that being said, we have to go with it. We don't have a choice. About that time, of course, as the tornado hit, the Samaritan's Purse came in, and a lot of people came in. There were a lot of people that came in to help. And I grew up helping my dad. My family worked construction. I was helping my dad as a kid quite a bit. And even after I started teaching public school in the summers, I would do construction work. And so at one time, I was a pretty healthy guy and did quite a bit of stuff. Now, when Samaritan's Purse came in, we wanted to volunteer. And we went, our church went, and we actually volunteered, had several go, and it was a wonderful experience. I was impressed with what they do. I wasn't impressed with what I could do. When we went to work, at that time I was weighing about 330 pounds, which at that point was the heaviest I'd ever been. Weighed about 330 pounds. Went out and I started that day. It had been raining, of course, with the tornado, and it was muddy, and we were trying to clean up a family's yard, and I started out like I used to work, and needless to say, 20 minutes later, what normally would have been about a 10 to 12 hour day was a 20-minute day, because I was in such bad shape that I could not work very well, very hard at all. You know, a big difference in working for somebody else and when you're working mowing your lawn. You know, there's a big difference in that. I can take all the breaks I want mowing my lawn. I don't think they would have thought too kindly of me, you know, propped up on the porch, having a bottle of water, you know. I don't know. But anyway, so it started working on my mind really then, my health, for a different reason. Prior to that, I'd always wanted to, you know, I'd lose, I'm like everybody else. I'd lose weight, gain weight, lose weight. And I wanted to really be just lighter. I didn't want to be heavy. You know, I wanted to feel better, of course, but I didn't think about how I represented myself too deeply concerning my faith. You know, amazingly, the church, we talk a lot about, it's easy to point out people who have an alcohol problem, drug problem, they're adulterers or whatever. We don't point out too often gluttony is a sin, because if we do that, probably about 75% of us may have to point at ourselves. And I'm, as Paul said, he's chief among sinners. I am chief among gluttons. I like Twinkies. And so it's been on my mind, and I've kind of wrangled with it for, I don't know, like I said, about a year. And finally, I got up to the point where I was 340 pounds. Now, 340 pounds is the most I've ever weighed. And I kind of, in my head, you know, I would say, oh, well, I'm doing this, doing that. I'm gonna lose weight, whatever. And but the last doctor's appointment, I go about every 6 months, and the last one I had went to, 340 pounds. And at that point, it really started eating on me, being convicted that, you know, number one, the way I'm eating, I'm sinning. That coincided with my grandchild, my first grandchild, being born. And I would like to be around for not only my children and my wife, but, you know, my grandchildren. And I don't know. I mean, I could get in unbelievable fit condition, which probably is not going to happen at 53, going on 54. But I can be in pretty good shape. And you know, something could happen. I mean, that's just life. But for as much as I can do something about my situation, I really would like to be healthier. So 3 months ago, I made a decision that I wasn't going to diet. I wasn't going to do the things that normally people do, and that I've done in the past. I made a decision that I was going to just stop being a glutton with the good Lord's help. And because food is a temptation for me. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And I don't want to be controlled by food. I don't want to be controlled by anything but God. And I started, instead of really dieting, I cut some things back drastically. Sugar, I cut back drastically. Pretty much any sugar that I would get would be if some of the fruits that I would eat. And I didn't cut it completely out, but for the most part. But I will tell you what I did. I started portioning how much I eat. I started changing my attitude with the good Lord's help that, you know what, I don't need to eat 3 square meals a day, and I don't have to have snacks in between. I'm not young anymore, so I'm not lifting all the time and running all the time like I used to do. I don't so I'm not needing to eat 6 small meals a day. I just need to eat to sustain and be healthy. And so I started cutting out some sugar and some different things, trying to cut back on processed foods. I eat more salads and things that without adding tons of junk to it. I mean, I do add some junk to a salad. I'm not a rabbit, but I'm reasonable with it. And if I eat meat, trying to eat more local, I guess. More conscious of where I'm buying meat, more aware of the vegetables and things that I'm taking in. That's not a major drastic life change, just I don't know, trying to be a responsible adult with my diet. Now, I had said when I got my weight down to a certain point, I was going to start exercising. Here comes the channel 2 hours later, if you're still listening to this. I was going to start exercising. So, as of last week, I was down 30 pounds. I hit 310 last week, which was a milestone. You know, I mean, I've lost that much weight before, but I've never lost that much weight before and been in kind of the groove I am now and the mentality I had. And so I started exercising again, really lightweight. I'm not lifting to try to be stout as I used to be. I used to be a really stout guy, and now the only thing that's stout about me is the arthritis in my shoulders. It's stout. But I may be doing 20 pounds on my curls, that sort of thing, tricep push down 20 pounds. My bench press now is a super whopping 70-pound bench press. But I do a lot of reps. I'm just trying to do a lot of reps. And to be honest with you, I'm just trying to move. Because I can't do what I've been doing and be alive very long. I'll just tell you that. Along with the lifting, I started walking again, and I enjoy walking. I think one of the best things we can do if you can get out and walk, to be close to God, to be in your thoughts. That's a good place to be if your thoughts are uplifting. You can't wallow in pity. And you got to do something about kind of your situation if it's not what you want it to be. God is faithful. And we understand there's an ebb and flow in life. The circumstances that happen, sometimes they're not fair. But we can't sit around and say continually, something's not fair, or this isn't right, or my circumstances are different, even though they very well may be. And, your circumstances may be such that you can't get out and run a marathon or something. Maybe you can't even walk. Maybe you can't do certain things. There's certain things you can't do. But I think at the end of the day, what is most fulfilling in this life is to serve God. We give Him glory. He gives us purpose. He gives us strength and ability. That ability may vary. But the second thing is that we are uplifted by the effort that we put in. The effort doesn't save us. The effort's just proof that we rejoice in a living God. That's the key. You know, I could walk every day, and I'm not saying this, you know, I don't want this to happen, but it's just the reality of life. I could walk every day, I could lose 100 pounds, I could get in great shape, and then I could have a health problem that just strikes you down. I mean, it happens every day. Families are going through it every day. People going, maybe people watching, going through it. I don't have control of that. But as a Christian, I rest in this, that it's in God's purpose. In Romans, he tells us all things work to the good for those who love him and are called unto his purpose. And that's, if you're a believer, that's where you're at. So that means that even really bad things, there's a purpose for it, and something good will come out of it. I know that's hard to understand, but it's the truth. I see it. I've seen it too many times in life. Now, having said all of that, the purpose for this channel is twofold. Number one, if you enjoy walking, and maybe you have a treadmill, or maybe you just enjoy seeing different places and doing different things. And I'm going over the low water bridge now that you would have seen if maybe you watched the walk. But for whatever purpose, maybe you grew up in Sulphur, Oklahoma, and maybe you live way off now. I don't know. And every now and then it's just nice to take a walk back where you grew up or where you were from. So that's the first purpose. The second, maybe that's the second purpose, but the first purpose. I'm an ordained minister, and I was a school teacher for a long time. And in that, I'm like everybody else. I've made mistakes and done things right, done things wrong. I've sinned in my life, been separated from God. But once I entered into the relationship with Christ, that I was converted. The process from then, the trajectory has been upwards, and sometimes I take some pretty big hits. You know, I don't do everything exactly like I should. So, but the trajectory overall has been upwards. I'm growing in the sanctifying work, becoming more Christ-like. That's my goal, and that's a good goal for everybody to have. But the first purpose of this is that as we walk in different places, different trails, see different things, do different things, if everything works out, I can do that we see the glory of God in what he has made. Romans has a great deal to say about that in Romans 1. We see the glory of God in what he has made. That's the evidence of God. So, hopefully, I'll put up the pedometer every time I walk and let you know how many steps you've gone if you walked with me. Or you can kind of get an idea. I don't know. You've got that on your treadmill. I'm still living in the Stone Age. But hopefully you enjoy the channel. You enjoy the time. And it's a blessing to you. That's my hope. So, that being said, have a blessed day. And may the good Lord bless and keep you.